Hello stringers, today we are going to be making a door sign. Okay, we're going to do the danger hot flashes in progress one. Door signs are pretty simple. They're kind of like if you've ever done a towel topper, but they don't have the strap for hanging the towel or to hang the actual whole towel topper off of like a handle on a oven or whatever. But they're they have hardware like a zipper bag and they're applique cut, but they're not hard. So let's get started doing this one. So this one, if you flip, I'm gonna flip my page over. There's 15 color stops, but it's not a huge deal. It's just because this one has some applique on it. Okay, so our first one is going to be hardware placement. The next one is hardware tack down. Then we get into these four here are going to be applique placement. Sorry, my handwriting is really crappy today. And tack downs. And then we have a couple of design elements. Then we have a couple more appliques. Then more design. And then we have applique for to add the back. This is so that you can cut it out in the hoop and then just wash away your stabilizer. So you're not having to trim around it, like for instance, when you do fobs or when you do a like a notebook cover and you have to trim around it after and try not to cut off your hardware like I always do. Yes, you're welcome for the alternate closure for notebook covers. And then this last one is always a do not stitch. The last one, oh, actually, never mind. On this one, it is not a do not stitch. This one is a satin. I forgot. Door signs do not have do not stitches because it shouldn't go over something when it auto centers that's gonna tear up your design. All right, so hardware place tack down, appliques, design, applique, satin, okay? Not hard. So the first thing I did was I hooped some woven wash away stabilizer. This is not the time to be using the thin plastic stuff. Okay, that's for topper, not for base stabilizer. So you want this woven stuff, or if you want to use a clear one, you need Badge Master, which, where did I put mine? I don't know if I have some laying around somewhere here, but it's super thick plastic. So it's not, Badge Master is not the thin topper. It's like heavy duty plasticky stuff, but the woven works good for these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hoop on my machine. I'm going to run the first color stop, which is going to give me some placement for hardware options. And then while I'm doing that, then I'll come back and talk to you about all the other stuff you're going to need. Okay, so the happy is going to be stitching the placement line. So obviously for hardware, it's giving you 3 tack downs, okay? You don't need all 3. You need 1 or you need 2, okay? You're either going to put 1 in the middle or you're going to put 2 toward the outer edge, okay? So you're going to need 2 pieces of ribbon that are 5/8 by 3 inches, and you're going to need 2 D-rings that are 5/8, okay? And then I'm going to need some vinyl. So I'm going to need a piece for the front, a piece for the back. I'm going to need a piece for this upper part, applique. And then I'm going to need a piece for the warning sign, applique. All right. So now that it's stitched step 1, I'm going to grab it. Okay, actually, I just noticed my design did not center on my hoop because I was doing something else before this. So it's me getting used to my machine. So I am going to ignore these and I'm going to rerun color stop 1 on this once I fix my setup in my machine. Okay, I am back and I have restitched my placement for my hardware. So we're just going to ignore these ones over here. These do not exist. Okay, so I need my ribbons and I need my hardware. Now I'm going to grab a lighter because I'm going to slide my hardware through my ribbon, and then I want to singe my ends because I don't want them to fray. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Okay, and now I need to decide, do I want to put one hanger in the center or do I want to put 2 hangers? Okay, now I'm more of a one hang in the center person, but that's because if you put them on the ends, you got to be really particular about making sure you get your hardware level so your sign hangs level. Okay, so I am going to stick with my tried and true, and I'm just going to do the center one. So I want to put my hardware where the ribbon's about 1/4 of an inch or so past that line. Okay, and then I'm going to take some tape, and I'm going to tape my hardware, and I'm going to tape my ribbon. And now I'm going to put this back on the machine, and I am going to run color stop 2 and 3. 2 is going to tack this down, and 3 is going to show me the placement for our first vinyl applique. Okay, so I have stitched my ribbon down. Okay, I can remove this piece of tape, and it's hard to see, so I'll kind of bring it up, but there's an outline, a placement line for your first piece of vinyl. Okay, so you just want to make sure that your die line is all covered up. All right, and then stick down your vinyl. All right, okay, so I've stuck that down, and now I'm going to run color stop. What is that one? That is 3, 4. So that 4 is going to tack down around here so that I can trim this. All right, so I'm going to put this back on the machine and run color stop 4. Okay, so actually I went and I actually ran color stops 4 and 5 because 5 gives me the placement for this upper piece. So I'm just going to, I'll edit that when I edit the sound in the video. So here we go. All right, so if you, I guess basically if you haven't run 5, go run 5, then come back and do this part. Okay, so now I need some applique scissors because I'm going to trim around this white piece of vinyl, and I want to be careful because I don't want to snip my stitches that are tacking this down, and I also don't want to put a gouge in my stabilizer. And then now we're going to get up here, and then I'm going to get real careful. Okay, so now I have not gone past the ribbon because I need to be very careful. So I'm going to kind of pick the vinyl up, and then I'm going to slide my scissors on top of the ribbon so that I don't cut the ribbon. And that's a good way to actually go about this all the way around so you don't accidentally tear the stabilizer underneath, because although it's woven and it's better for this than the clear stuff, it's a little sturdier, it still could tear through. Okay, oops, and I didn't get as close as I'd like over here, so I'm gonna go back and trim that. And you can go back and touch up any places like that as you're going. Okay, because you want to get as close as you can without trimming any of the tack down stitches. And turning the hoop instead of turning your wrist with the scissors works really well to make sure you can get nice and close while not tearing your stabilizer or snipping your tack down stitches. If you snip a couple, it's fine. You just don't want to accidentally snip them all. All right, so that's done. If you have not run 5 and you didn't do it before you trimmed, go run that now. And then when that's done, you're going to come back and lay your red piece of vinyl for your applique for that. Now, if you didn't want to do this applique and you wanted to do your sign in basically all one color, let's say you want to just do a yellow sign with black words, you can do that. Just skip all the applique steps and make all your thread colors black or whatever color so that it contrasts with whatever vinyl color you picked, okay? So I've taped down my red applique, and now I'm going to run color stop 6, and then I will come back. I have run color stop 6, so I can take these pieces of tape off. And now I'm going to trim around the red applique piece. I'm going to do the same thing when I get close to my hardware ribbon. I'm going to pick up and slide my scissors between the ribbon and the vinyl. And cut across. Oh, that looks like I could get a little closer there. And then right across the bottom. Okay. All right. Check for any spots I want to touch up. All right, that looks good. So now I'm going to put this back on my machine, and I'm going to run color stop 7, 8, and 9. That is going to be some words here, word here, and then it's going to give me my last placement for my final front side applique. And then I will come back and show you how to do that part. Okay, so we have stitched some of our words, and our last applique placement has been stitched. So I'm going to put my vinyl for that last applique down. And make sure that it's covering everything. Okay, now I'm going to put this on the machine, and I am going to run color stop 10, which will give me the tack down for this, and then we'll come back and cut it out. Tack this down. I know it's very hard to see because it's yellow on yellow, but I'm going to pull the tape off, and then I'm going to trim around that applique. Okay. Like I said, if you need to go back and touch up, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so that is all trimmed. Now I get to run color stop 11, 12, and 13. 11, 12, and 13, and then I'll be back. And it has stitched all of the rest of the design, and then it put a placement line down because we need to be able to flip this over. And we're going to put our backing on, okay? And that's going to be another applique. So I'm going to tape this in place on the back of the hoop. Tape it on the back because gravity. And remember, these are just garbage. Ignore those. Okay, I'm going to flip it over, and then I like to kind of rub from the front to make sure. While I'm here, I'm going to check for any jump stitches or loose stitches. That just a little loose. Okay, now I'm going to put this back on the machine and run color stop 14. All right, so I have done the back tack down. So now I need to take these pieces off, and now we need to be really careful because we want to trim around this, but again, we don't want to slice through our stabilizer. So I'm going to kind of hold up the edge. Okay. Getting as close as I can without snipping stitches and without getting into my stabilizer. Now on the back here, I don't have to worry about the ribbon because the stabilizer is in the way. So I just want to get nice and close. Double checking to make sure that I've gotten as close as I can. So now that's all done. It looks good. Okay, now I'm going to put this back on the machine and I'm going to run the final satin, which is color stop 15. Okay, so I've stitched all the color stops. I'm going to take the tape off. I'm going to flip this over so I can just trim the thread tails on the back. Okay. All right, now, now I'm going to remove it from the hoop. Okay. And I'm going to trim a lot of this excess stabilizer off. Okay. Because this is wash away, but we don't want to necessarily have all this extra that we have to get rid of. Now I'm doing this with a rotary cutter. You can do it with scissors. I have my rotary cutters by me all the time. Okay, so that's done. All right, now we need to get rid of this excess. Okay, so here I have a bowl of hot water that I used my electric kettle to make. Now I can just kind of dip the end in, okay? And that comes off. But if you need to go back and touch up areas, that's where my toothbrush comes in. Okay. But otherwise I'm just dipping into the hot water. This way I'm not soaking the whole thing. Keep my hardware out of the way a little bit there. Okay. All right, and then I have this part here, so I'm just going to come up here and kind of brush it, pull the ribbon back. Now, as you can see, I didn't trim as good as I could have along the top, but it's still okay. All right, now that that's done, it just needs to sit and dry, but otherwise that's it. Your sign is done. Now all you got to do is just go hang it up. If you like to purchase this design, you can get any design that I do video for here, you can get from www.stringtheoryfabricart.com.